Moving forward to hearing from our first speaker, Mr. Ambassador James Hill, Canadian Ambassador to Costa Rica. Mr. Hill joined the Department of External Affairs in 1989. Prior to his assignment as Canada's ambassador to the Republic of Costa Rica, with cross-accreditation to the republics of the Honduras and Nicaragua. Mr. Hill served abroad as Consul General in Seattle, Washington, the Charge d'Affaires at Embassy of Canada in Kuwait, Deputy Head of Mission and Embassy of Canada in Kabul, Afghanistan, and Charge d'Affaires at Embassy of Canada in Tripoli, Libya. These were preceded by assignments as High Commissioner of Canada in Mozambique, Consul General of Canada in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Head of the Canadian Kosovo Diplomatic Observer Mission in Pristina, Kosovo, and as Second Secretary and Vice Consul at the Embassy of Canada in Tehran, Iran. At the Global Affairs in Canada in Ottawa, Mr. Hill held management positions as Director for Middle East and Africa, Commercial Economic Relations, and Director for Europe and Central Asia Commercial Economic Relations, Deputy Director of Latin American Division, and Deputy Director of the Western Hemisphere Summits Office. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Ambassador James Hill, Canadian Ambassador to Costa Rica. Mr. Hill, I think you're on mute.
Are you reading me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you. You went back on mute. Mr. James Hill, you went back on mute accidentally.
Shall we try one more time?
Yes, the joys of technology. We can all hear you now.
Indeed. Okay, well, signal if I go out of hearing range. I was just saying good morning to you all, and thank you for that introduction, Nathaniel. I also want to thank the organizers of this event for taking the efforts to put this together. I know it's always a lot of work, but bringing together the people from Central America and Canada in a focused, important event like this takes a lot of hands, and it's evident that a lot of hands have been productive in bringing this together. And I want to say that, begin by saying that, of course, Canada values the deep and long-standing relationship that it has with the countries and the people of Central America, especially this year as we 2021, as we mark the 60th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Canada, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Panama, and Guatemala. I mention them all specifically, even though we're talking about a region. I mention them all specifically because, as I'm sure has been pointed out yesterday and through the course of today's session, although we speak of a region, each one of these countries has a specific profile and a specific commercial and investment element that will marry with Canadian interests. We can look at the region as a whole, but we also have to examine the countries individually to have a better idea of which country and which market best fits with Canadian interests. So Canada's connections with the region really go far beyond just geography, and they really do include the people-to-people ties, the shared values, investments, student exchanges, tourism, and we engage with the countries and the peoples of the region through policy dialogue, through strategic stakeholder engagement, through international development programming, and of course, through what we're here to discuss today and what was discussed yesterday, trade and investment. So trade and investment relations are more, of course, than just the sale of goods and services, and ultimately profits. Commercial activities encourage inclusive economic growth, sustainable development, support poverty eradication, strengthen democracy, support climate change mitigation, and increase opportunities for marginalized groups. All of this comes with trade and investment. Of course, COVID-19 has placed an added layer of complexity on our relationships since March 2020. However, both companies and investors on both sides, despite the pandemic difficulties, have risen to the challenge. And in fact, our trade statistics do show only a marginal decrease for the region in 2020. So companies have seen the pandemic as a challenge to be faced with, and not in terms of how they approach a region, but how they do business internally, and as a challenge to be faced with by evoking additional innovation and resilience. I can say that our trade statistics looking forward to the completion of this year, 2021, are bouncing back. And to be honest, they look like they are on track to surpass even pre-COVID numbers. So despite the curtailing of the movement of people during this time, the movement of commercial goods, the increased focus on investment has continued and has continued to prosper in the region. So I don't need to tell my good friend Mauricio Ortiz, as he's been in Canada for a while, he will have learned that Canada certainly goes beyond exporting maple syrup and wheat and IT know-how. There's a much broader range than that. Canada exports its expertise and values through Canada's really a balanced approach to responsible business conduct, which includes preventative measures, legislation in selective areas, and the access to remedy in the forms of voluntary non-judicial dispute resolution mechanisms. So Canada expects Canadian companies operating abroad to abide by all relevant laws, to respect human rights in their operations, and to adopt the best voluntary practices and internationally respected guidelines on responsible business conduct, such as the UN guiding principles on business and human rights, as well as the OECD guidelines for multinational enterprises. So doing business is great. Doing business according to internationally recognized good business guidelines is even better. And that is the sort of a bedrock of all Canadian involvement in business and investment, not only in this region, but globally. For those of you who aren't aware, a new responsible business conduct strategy has now been developed, and it's based upon a review of a 2014 strategy and comprehensive stakeholder consultations carried out throughout all of 2020. In keeping with changes in both the Canadian and global economies, as well as rising stakeholder expectations, the 2021 strategy, which is expected to be released anytime now, will apply to all Canadian companies, and not just the big boys in the room. It also incorporates the small to medium-sized enterprises operating in any sector, in any region, including in Central America. Sharing our expertise with local organizations and companies is also important. It's also an important part of our work that we do in Central America to ensure that everyone benefits from both economically and socially from ensuring the best practices and internationally respected guidelines that continue to be adopted through the strategies I've mentioned. I do want to touch on another important sector that is relevant to Canada and relevant to the region, and that's the education sector. Education is really another very important area of collaboration and interest between Canada and the countries of Central America. This includes both the recruitment of students to study in Canada, as well as the development of partnerships at institutional and professional levels, along with joint research projects. There was a recent survey by IDP Connect which shows that more than 1/3 of students reported that Canada was their first choice for international study, followed by the US and the UK and Australia. Why is this? Well, it's basically because Canada's universities and colleges are renowned for their regulated high standards of education. That, and along with reasonable cost, work opportunities, and career prospects, and a safe and secure and welcoming environment, continue to attract students from Central America. Before COVID-19 struck and many educational institutions had to move to an online learning environment, we had approximately 1,200 students from Central America who were studying in Canada. And now that the borders are back open and once more classes are back to in-person, we hope to reach and surpass our previous levels. Interest remains high, and we know that the students will be back. The value of the education sector can't be understated in terms of the knock-on effect it has, both in countries where those students come from and the contributions they make to Canada. Not only are they receiving the benefit of the education in Canada, but they also serve as extremely valuable linkages between the two countries. And they play an important role in commerce and investment as the years go by. Nothing gives a company or an investment initiative more strength and depth than having people who have been educated in Canada and are serving as that link to the country in which they are now working, or from which they originally came. So watch the education sector and be sure to leverage the benefits it can offer your business interests in Central America. Shifting a bit, it's no secret that the dynamism of the Canadian economy offers a wealth of opportunities for Central America exporters and investors. While agricultural products do remain Canada's primary import from Central America, there are more and more exporters of diverse sectors, including machinery and medical devices, just to name two. We expect this trend to continue as Central American countries continue to encourage economic diversification and investment. And then we will see the carry-on benefit and connection to Canada as those sectors and economies diversify. According to Canadian statistics, Canada direct investment abroad in Central America grew by 13.4% in 2020. And we expect this interest to continue in the region as companies seek to expand their markets and access those in Central as well as South America. I do have to say, as an FDI destination, Canada combines top talent, unparalleled market access, and an unbeatable environment. There are numerous growth opportunities for investors in every economic sector. Now, from Central America to Canada, investment is pretty small, but let's say it has it only has it has a base and it has one direction to go, and that's upwards. So we look forward to attracting and working with those who are interested in promoting or directing their investment towards Canada. And we are certain that there are more opportunities to increase the FDI from this region towards Canada. I do want to mention another important sector, and that's tourism. While the landscape might be vastly different between Canada and Central America, people's love and respect for culture of our respective nations means that Canadian visits to Central America and vice versa are an important part of building ties that bring our countries together and increase shared understanding and an appreciation for both countries and both economies. Point of fact, Canada's allure is not just the great outdoors, as you know. Canada has cosmopolitan cities that are clean, safe, and friendly, And these are enormously attractive to visitors from Central America. Tourism is, again, just not just visiting and knowing another country, but it often serves as a foundation for later business and investment. Opportunities and awareness of economies and investments can come from anywhere, but there has to be an initial anchor to build a linkage between two markets. And it often comes in the form of tourism, an initial visit that has no specific commercial focus can often then lead into a developed market opportunities once the person is on the ground and sees the environment and sees opportunities around them. So tourism is an important element. I'm happy to say that there is a considerable bilateral movement, that it's not just Canadians coming to Central America, but there is a strong movement of Central Americans, particularly Costa Ricans, who visit Canada. Anyway, I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today to help open this day 2 of an important business and investment and innovation opportunity seminar. And I hope that whether you are looking to Canada or South America, or sorry, pardon me, Central America to expand or consolidate business interests, that you find success and growth in 2021 and of course beyond that. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.